run 'em out, run 'em out. We got the Raiders in the building and they about to shut it down. Silver and black up in the crowd. Raider Nation.
Welcome to the second season, first episode of the Raider Nation, Stogie Nation podcast. With me is my boy, the man, the myth, the legend, Pedro from Legacy of the Shield.
What's going on, everybody, man? I hope you guys are having a great day so far. This is our first one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My good friend here is going to introduce me to the art of cigar smoking, talk a little bit about football, and whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, we're just going to chop it up. If you guys had never seen the previous episodes of Stogie Nation, it's basically simple. We're Raider fans. We like cigars. Combine them both, see what happens. Also, cigar smoking became very popular last season with Max Crosby. With the few dubs that we got during the season, they celebrated by smoking their cigars in the locker room. So, we kind of followed that mindset, which was smoke your shit, talk your shit, the Raider way. And that's what basically what we're going to do today. There's no script. We're just going off the cuff. We're gonna educate you guys, if you want to, on what it is to be part of the hobby of cigar smoking. Because it isn't just grabbing a cigar and smoking it. There's a process. We're going to go through all of that and, just chop it up on Raider information, Raider history, because I know Pedro here, he has a lot of knowledge in that aspect, and he can talk ball as well. So, we're going to get started. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to grab our cigars. Today we're smoking the factory smokes from Drew Estates. These are some very economical cigars. You can buy a brick of these, which is like 25 cigars for like 40, 50 bucks, which, my math isn't good, but breaks down to about $2 and change each. So they're very inexpensive and they're a good smoke. They are the Fumas cigars, which is basically the leftovers, or I don't want to call it leftovers, the remnants of the higher end cigars. So like whenever they cut the tobacco to make the fillers, which is the inside of the cigar, whatever's left over, they grab that, they package it, and they make these cigars. So it's still high quality tobacco, but it's not the full leaf. It might be partially so. When you're smoking it, some ash occurs more frequently than one of those higher end cigars. But nonetheless, it's still a good smoke, very good price range. And for entry level individuals that are starting to smoke cigars, these are the perfect buys. And they have different variations of them. They have Connecticut's, they have Maduros. They have different sizes. Oh, they have, I think, a sweet one too. Oh, they have cigarrillos, which is the smaller ones. They have it all. It's great.
So this is something you would definitely recommend to like somebody that's getting introduced to like cigar smoking.
Yes.
Doesn't necessarily break the bank, right?
Right.
And if you don't get it right the first time, then this is something you could probably maybe throw away if you're like, oh, this might be a little too powerful or whatnot.
And now that's another important topic that you bring up, is the strength of the cigar. Maduros tend to be a little stronger. They're medium to full body.
Okay.
Most of the Connecticut's, which are the lighter shade cigars, they're usually a bit lighter. So those are the ones I recommend for first time cigar smokers. If you're gonna go to a cigar lounge or you're gonna go to somewhere where they sell cigars, try and ask for a light Connecticut and try something small. Maybe like a Toro, or even smaller like a Nub, or a cigarrillo, which is like, they look kind of like cigarettes, but it's just tobacco. That way you get your feet wet. You don't want to jump into the deep end without knowing how to swim, right?
Absolutely.
You start off slow. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut them. I'm using the punch cut. Pedro, he's gonna use the V cut. So a punch cut, you just press in, twist, and you got a hole in the middle, ready to punch. And yours, you just flip the top, put the cigar head right there, and then guillotine that bad boy.
Guillotine that bad boy? All right, let's see, guys. See how this is going to go.
There you go. Done data.
There it is. Okay.
You got the V. All right, and now,
real quick, before we get into it, what's the difference between the cuts of, like, for instance, your traditional cut to the punch to the V cut?
Well, there is definitely some advantages and disadvantages, but more it's based on the liking of the individual. Like the straight cut, which is you cut the whole top, you get more of a draw because it's more space that you're drawing from.
Got it.
The V cut, it's basically a little line in the middle, so it's a little bit more restricted, but it comes out a little stronger.
Got it.
The punch, which is what I got, which is just a little hole in the middle, that one's like a torpedo shot straight in. So, but what I like about this, that it keeps the construction of the top, the ring, it keeps it, I guess, a little tighter, a little longer on the tip, because all of the cigars have a ring on top, which is kind of like a little cap that they put on there.
Right.
If you cut it wrong with a straight cut or a V cut, that starts peeling off sometimes. Oh. And then when that occurs, the cigar starts unraveling. So I, for some reason, tend to always do that. I've noticed that the punch helps me out.
So the punch it is, guys. I think I got lucky on this one because the cigar is still intact, obviously, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's the retrohale, which is you just inhale without burning the cigar. That way you know how loose or tight the tobacco is inside. So if you take a hit and you feel the air coming in easy, that means that the tobacco inside the cigar isn't tight.
Isn't too packed and tight and...
Yeah, because there's some cigars, man, that are like, you're like sucking on like a milkshake straw, you know, but this one, easy draw, it gives a nice tobacco flavor in your mouth.
Oh yeah,
you know, nothing too overpowering, nothing sweet or what's all that other stuff. Nothing woodsy,
leathery.
Yeah, we are definitely not that type of cigar smokers. You know,
yes.
No disrespect to the connoisseurs that know their stuff the real way, but my palate and Pedro's palate, it's not quite that advanced yet.
Right.
You know, but we are cigar smokers, and we are gonna definitely let you know about what we see, what we feel.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I started smoking cigars maybe a few years ago. I'm not like Walter said here. I'm not a bona fide cigar smoker, but it's something that I do enjoy occasionally. You know, but I know he's very knowledgeable in the cigar world, and I think sitting here with him and kind of understanding and learning, just like anything else, right? It makes you appreciate cigar smoking a little bit more than just. They just pick something up and put it into our mouth and spark it up and smoke it like you would like a cigarette, for instance, right?
Definitely.
So yeah, man, this is I like the way it feels. It's
yeah. Look at the actual the body of the cigar. You know, it's not very bumpy, not very veiny.
Right.
Usually, lower end cigars tend to be very veiny. It has a bunch of little sticks and stuff like that that protrude from the actual wrapper. But these, you know, for the cost, very good wrapper. The ring is nice. Retrohale's nice. The ring itself, the design, it's pretty basic, but it's to the point. It just says factory smokes. It has a Drew Estates logo in the back, and it says handmade. Enough said.
Enough said, right?
No need to build a whole paragraph on something that's going to get tossed away in a minute.
And what was this called again?
Retrohale.
Retrohale?
Retrohale, yeah.
Retrohale.
Yeah.
There it is.
So as far as the body and the make of the cigar, it's a very nice cigar. You know, for the price, I think it's great. Everything else so far, what do you think, Pedro?
I know, man. I like it so far. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, like you said, I'm not too advanced to taste it, but I could taste already I would say, like cleanness of the cigar. You know, I'm actually pretty excited to smoke this one.
Oh yeah, well we're gonna light them up next.
Yeah.
So I got my lighter here. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna toast the tip.
Okay.
The reason to do this is that way you get a clean, even burn on the cigar when you actually light it up. So now all the portions of the tip are heated and burned. So when you actually go to light it, it lights up evenly. And then when you light up, you put the fire at a distance, touching the actual tip, and then you turn and twist the cigar. That way it burns evenly, like this.
Got it. That looks nice, right?
And there you go. You got an even cigar.
All right,
Return.
let's give it a shot here.
Do it to it.
So we're gonna light it up. We're gonna go ahead and toast it, right? And this is what we mean, guys, about the process about smoking a cigar here. It's not how you would light up a cigarette and then just kind of put it to your mouth and start inhaling it. You know, it's a process.
Sit up. Good to go. And just to reiterate, these cigars that we have, these are Maduros, so they're medium to full body. So they'll be a little bit stronger than lighter Connecticut. So I highly recommend, if you have no experience in smoking cigars or smoking anything else, you know, go with the Connecticut. You know, you will definitely have a better experience when it comes to the hobby of cigar smoking. So what do you think? Good stuff?
See, man. Wow. It's pretty good.
What's that saying they say in Spanish? Bueno, bonito y barato.
Bueno, bonito, barato. You can never go wrong with something that you get a bang for your buck for. I mean, they don't taste... For some reason, based on the color, I thought it was going to be stronger, right? I thought it was going to be like, whoa. But it's actually pretty smooth.
Well, give it a minute, because there is definitely a transition within the cigar.
Okay.
You know, there's some portions where it starts getting a little stronger, because what's happening is right now you have a lot of space for the smoke to travel from the actual cherry to your mouth.
Okay.
So, you know, the heat is at a distance. But once it starts getting closer, the heat causes I guess, the flavors to change, and the strength also changes. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. And that's the hit and miss of these Fuma cigars.
Okay.
You know, that because they're not made uniformly, like they're not exactly the same every time, because they're bits and pieces of different types of cigars. You know, you're gonna have different flavors, different burns. All this. I have some cigars that have come out crappy, dude. That
Really?
The cigar, like the cherry's here, but the cigar's burning down here, like at this level. You know, but it's part of the process being like I guess a second cigar. You know, not the top end. You know, but I don't mind it. You know, because it's very few and far between when that happens. And then again, like I was telling you earlier, these cigars, I don't mind giving it to a non-cigar smoking friend when we're golfing or we're hanging out, you know, because they want to be part of the crew. They want to look cool smoking a cigar, having a drink, you know, so I'll gladly give them one of these because this is $2, $3, no big deal. But, you know, other cigars that I have in my humidor, you know, my little Cubans and, you know, the little other stuff that I got in there, you know, those are the $15, $20 cigars, man. No.
Yeah, I don't think you want to go ahead and hand that off to somebody.
That's not happening.
Especially somebody that doesn't appreciate a cigar, right? Not that you want to attach money to a cigar, but because I was also reading that just because a cigar is expensive doesn't necessarily make it a good cigar, right?
That's facts.
You know, if you obviously think of it as an investment, right? You get the cigar, you have it in your humidor, right? And you're kind of waiting for that occasion just to kind of give it to somebody that doesn't really appreciate it. You kind of see why it's a little bit of a, right? Like, oh, and then you grab it and then they put it out like a cigarette and you're just looking at
And that's it hurts right here. Oh my God. Like you mother. Well, Nation, we're going to give you some information on factory smokes on Drew Estates.
Yes.
I looked it up on their website. You know, and I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm going to hand the information over to Pedro.
All right, man.
So you can read it to the nation, let them know what Factory Smokes is all about.
So, you know, factory smoke cigars are budget-friendly line from Drew Estates, right? Handmade at La Gran Fabrica, Drew Estate. They are known for their value and are available in various wrapper types and sizes, which I believe this one is the Maduro, which is a dark, oily wrapper with notes of espresso, chocolate, and black pepper.
So they say.
So they say, right? You know what? Maybe one day, right? We'll be able to bring that out. And I don't know if it's my mind playing tricks on me, but I want to say I might be tasting a little bit of that espresso in this right now.
What's that saying when you hear something so much you start believing it?
It's
you know what I'm talking about, right?
It's like where they make you start believing it so much.
Let's think of suggestion.
What's it called? You know, they're available in various wrapper types and sizes, including sun-grown. Just so you know, sun-grown is a rich oily wrapper with sweet and spicy notes. And then they have the shade, Maduro and sweet. These cigars are often described as having a good balance of construction, flavor, and consistency. Sorry about that. Especially considering their price points. As Walter spoke here about it, the price point, if you break it down, our math is not good. My math is horrendous, thanks to my iPhone, because I depend on that thing way too much, you know. But it comes out to roughly about $2 right, per cigar, which you cannot go wrong. So far, it's tasting good. It's good. You know, right now we're smoking. I spoke about the sun-grown. The shade is a smooth Connecticut wrapper. And real quick, before I go on with this, a Connecticut wrapper, leaf with cedar and earth flavors. Connecticut wrapper is a lighter tone, right?
Lighter tone, yes.
And it's more of a mild type of.
Some of them, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Because the Connecticut wrapper, it's just the outer layer. Where the strength comes from is from the filler.
From the filler.
From the tobacco leaf inside. Sometimes some companies do a Connecticut wrapper, so it's a light wrapper, but it has a medium to full body filler. So that's something that you have to be careful and be aware of what you're buying, because don't just look at a Connecticut and say, oh, that's a lighter shade, so it's going to be light, because sometimes it's not.
I think my first Connecticut that I smoked was a Macanudo.
Macanudo?
Yeah, Macanudo. There you go. But anyway, guys, real quick, so we don't lose track here. The Maduro, which we are smoking on right now, it's a dark, oily wrapper with notes of espresso, chocolate, and black pepper. And then we got the Sweet, which is a sweet tip Habano wrapper with crisp tobacco and coffee flavors. It's a versatile brand. Right? Factory smokes are suitable for various occasions. Like this, you know, sitting here watching the Raiders play, right? Or anything for that matter, you know, you're barbecuing, Arc one up at the golf course, which I think these are very popular, right? You know, golf course. Hey, here you go, whip this out. Casual yard work or just sharing with friends. Convivir, I would say in the Spanish, you know. The bulk manufacturing and simple packaging contribute to their affordability. Yeah. And he was spoke about the cigarillos earlier. Some also offer factory smokes in a smaller, more convenient cigarillo size, which is a lot smaller than this.
Yes.
A lot thinner than this. And
those are also occasionally called the dog walkers. The cigarillos and the nubs, which are little tiny ones. Factory smokes don't make the nubs, but nubs are, I want to say, maybe like 2 inches, 2.5 inches long. Those are considered dog walkers because you can smoke one as you walk your dog. You know, it's a nice short stick. You know, same thing with the cigarillos, nice short stick. The only difference is that the cigarillo's thin like a cigarette, and the nub it's basically this size, just cut to like maybe that size. You know, 2.5 inches.
And you've been in this for a while. What do you suggest the draw should be on these things? Is it something that you constantly puff, or do you draw, savor the flavor? What's your technique to smoking a cigar?
Well, personally, what I do is I do a 2-puff draw, and then I kind of like let it sit for a few seconds in my mouth, and then I exhale slow. So basically this.
Yes.
And that's it. You know, traditionally, it's recommended to take a drag of a cigar every minute or so. Some people do it sooner, some people do it later. And then also, if you're in conversation, sometimes it's a few minutes before you do it. But traditionally, that's what's recommended. For me, it all depends on the situation. If I'm drinking, usually when I take a drink, I'll take a drag because I like the pairing, the combination. If I'm golfing, obviously, you know, I have to put the cigar down, go do my thing. So after every swing, I'll try to take a drag, and that's every like 2-3 minutes or so. So it just all varies. Some people like to puff away. I don't judge, but the bad thing of puffing too soon, too quickly, it burns the cherry hot and it changes the flavor.
Yeah, I was reading that it actually can turn a cigar bitter.
Yep.
Wow. So guys, I mean, you know, the art of smoking a cigar is a real thing. It's like, it's a process from opening, smelling it, the draw, now even to smoking it, and really trying to identify the flavor of the cigar. As much as, you know, we read and you'll see these, like Walter said, no disrespect to the connoisseur, the actual connoisseur that it's like what is it with those wine people? A sommelier?
Oh yeah, sommeliers.
A sommelier? You know, they could break, they could be like, the wine was grown in the orchards of Italy in 1937 and was washed by tap water. That's kind of hardcore right there. Not to judge these people, but the goal essentially would be to kind of try to understand the cigar, understand the flavor, understand its construction, right? And kind of enjoy it and not rush the process of smoking it, you know? And obviously with good company.
Yeah, you know.
Good conversations. It was amazing.
Yeah,
I'm liking it so far, man.
Yeah. And then the cigar I have, it's still a factory smoke. It's still a Maduro, but this is a Gordo. This is what's known as a 660. So it's a 60 ring gauge, 6 inches long. Yours is I think it's a 550. So it's a 50 ring gauge, which is the circumference of the cigar.
Okay.
And then it's 5 inches long.
Oh, so yours it's a different cigar.
It's the same cigar, just a different size.
Oh, this whole time I thought we were smoking the same cigar.
But technically we are.
But just the size.
Yeah.
It's
basically like saying you and your son. You know, you guys are both the same, carry the same blood. Just you know, well, your medium son, because you were telling me your eldest son is taller than you.
Yeah.
But you know, so it's basically the same thing, just different size. It's like also the cigarrillos.
Right.
Same thing, just smaller size. You know, that's the only difference. And the thing is, it's depending on the situation, at least for me personally, like if I don't have a lot of time to smoke a cigar, I'll smoke a toro. You know, because that one to me is a 30-minute cigar.
A 30-minute cigar.
This one, the Gordo, is more of a 45-minute to an hour cigar. You know, depending on the situation.
Got it. So if you guys are going to puff on a cigar, you guys got to make sure you set your time aside, not to rush it, you know. 35, 45-minute smoke, but I think those are good 45 minutes well spent.
Oh, definitely, man. This is my end of the day de-stressor.
Absolutely.
You know, I come back here, we're right now in my man cave, got my TV. I'll have, because I'm not really a big drinker anymore. So I'll grab my cup of coffee, grab my stick, watch some TV, some news, whatever, and just decompress, man.
Yeah.
You know, decompress.
Yeah, I saw this video a couple of days ago, and it's Paulie from The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about the 3 different types of cigar smokers. He's like, you got the stockbroker cigar smoker. Hey, close on this much. And then you got the casual cigar smoker. He goes, and then you got the cigar smoker in a library and a library in the back, and you're just sitting down smoking a cigar, and the world just passes you by. And I thought, man, that was such an amazing analogy, where it's just like, you're just sitting there enjoying your cigar, listening to some tunes, having coffee, and an hour has gone by, and it's just a cool moment to savor, like you would savor your cigar, man.
Yeah, like I forgot what movie. Oh, it was Zombieland. I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie.
Yeah.
But there's one of the points that the main character has. He has like a list of things that he lives by, and one thing is enjoy the little things.
Absolutely.
And this is definitely one that, at least in my life, I enjoy on a daily for myself.
Absolutely.
Because my wife, she doesn't like cigar smoking. My kid, I keep him away, but this is something for me. It's my vice,
Right.
and I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
That's good. Yeah, man, so far it's smoking great. Now, my next question I know it's starting to look like an interview, but I do really want to understand this process a lot better. Like I said, I smoke cigars, but not as often ashing a cigar. How do you go about, do you ash this like a cigarette?
No.
First
of all, there's a technique or a practice that a lot of cigar smokers have is they can dictate or know how well the building of a cigar is based on how long they can keep the ash on there. Because if the construction is on there, nice and tight, very well done, man, you could go half of the cigar and still have a complete ash.
Oh, man, that's crazy, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
but
wow.
because these are seconds, these are bits and pieces from other cigars, it's gonna fall off.
Right.
Quickly. I'm impressed that you have yours still intact.
Still going, guys.
Let's
see how long we can get it going.
But what I usually do, because for some reason for me, this usually happens, I'll grab my cigar, bring it up, and as soon as I bring it up, bam, ash falls on me, and I'm like, damn it. So what I usually do, grab my cigar, bring it to the ashtray, and then I hit the tip next to the side, and then I roll it. And then the ash just falls off.
Guys, even ash in a cigar is an art form. This is an art form right here, man. This is amazing.
And that's it. I like to keep it nice and clean. Also notice that because we did the little charring and twisted the cigars, we lit it, it's an even burn.
Yes.
It's not twisted to the side, it's not angled, it's a nice even burn.
It's not running.
And that way the cigar actually burns evenly and it burns longer. Because once you start getting those angles, it starts burning quicker, starts getting hotter, and it just ruins the cigar.
You got to relight it, retouch it up, retoast it up.
Yeah. And usually it happens. It happens to the best cigars. So you definitely have to have a lighter handy, just to straighten it out a little bit if need be. But other than that, so far so good, man. I love this cigar.
Now, speaking of cigars, real quick, going into football a little bit. Max Crosby, what did he smoke? What is Mad Max the Condor smoking?
You know what? I saw an interview when he was talking about the cigars. I forgot. I truly forgot. I know he smokes at it's in fucking Resort World in Vegas. He just did his draft party there.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, I know he smokes at that lounge. But what brand, I don't remember. But I know he's an avid cigar smoker.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. You see, I like watching his Rush podcast, and he's puffing on his cigar. Do you think that messes up with his conditioning at all? I sit there and wonder, because, for you guys that are watching this for the first time and watching us smoke cigar, you don't inhale this like you would a cigarette or a vape. This is more of a mouth play, in your mouth, trying to dance the smoke around your palate type thing, right? It looks like this ash is ready to go, guys. I try to get as far as I can. So we're going to go ahead and bring it to the ashtray, roll it, and give it a clean break.
There it is.
And there it is.
Bam.
Bam.
Yeah, like Pedro was mentioning, the act of smoking a cigar, definitely do not inhale. But if you are in a room with cigar smoke continuously, you're inhaling smoke. So that is definitely one of the downfalls of smoking cigars. But you don't do this all day long like you would do with cigarettes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So an hour a day, an hour every other day, an hour a week, depending on, what level of cigar smoker you are, isn't that bad. And if you are going to smoke, I highly recommend you smoke in a highly ventilated area. Like outdoors at a park, and if you're smoking at a lounge in their patio, get some ventilation, and that way it's definitely a lot. Sorry about that, Raider Nation. My neighbor got a little overzealous with his blower or chainsaw or whatever that thing was. It got really loud, so we kind of took a little break, but we're back. And yes. You know what? This break actually helps us also show you another aspect of the cigar smoking, because sometimes you do get interruptions. You start talking, you have to go somewhere, and you leave your cigar down, sitting there. And cigars don't continuously burn. If you don't puff on them, they go out. So like right now, both of our cigars are out. So what you do is, just relight it. But instead of doing the toasting and everything, you just put the fire up, twist, and puff it, and you're back. There you go.
Fire up.
Now, sometimes if you leave a cigar for too long turned off, it's gonna have like a burnt flavor to it. So if it's sitting, at least in my case, if I leave it sitting for too long, I try not to smoke it again. But if it's just maybe like a few minutes, like right now with us, it should be fine. It should definitely be fine. And also, during this little break, we started investigating to see what exactly Max Crosby smokes. And there's no information on the type of cigars. They mentioned that he supplied the cigars for every celebration that the nation had. And obviously, he's an avid cigar smoker. He loves it. It's his hobby. But what he smokes, we don't know. So what we're going to do is we're going to shoot him out a message. Hopefully he'll let us know, and we'll let you know in the next episode of Stogie Nation.
Mad Max, if you're watching this, just reach out to us, man. Let us know. We're curious, right? We want to smoke like the condor.
For sure,
That's what it is. You want to smoke like the condor.
So going back to a little Raider information, being that right now we're in the dry spell of the season, draft is gone. OTAs, not really a big deal. There's nothing really happening. We just had some great celebrations with the Raider Nation. We had Northern California, the Black Hole chapters did a car show barbecue. Then we had Raider Crusaders did the summer kickoff in Bakersfield. And right now we have nothing until I think June or July. We have Raiders Against the World over at Bolsa Chica Beach.
Yep.
So that's really about it right now. So there's really not much news as far as, the Raider organization. But is there like maybe some stuff that you've picked up or that you've seen or that you've...
I mean, right now it's the dark period of the season. But obviously right now, you're seeing it everywhere. It's the Christian Wilkins injury, Ashton Genty stands, some standouts in the OTAs as far as rookies. One of them that I was doing yesterday is just kind of trying to really understand how Geno Smith is going to impact the Raiders, right? Because last season, when he was with the Seattle Seahawks, he threw for, I think was like, almost 4,000 yards. I think he had like 578 pass attempts, right? And I think a lot of us in the Raiders, we're probably going to expect those type of numbers coming from him up in the season coming up, but I think it's going to be the opposite. I think he's actually going to have lower pass attempts, but he's going to be much of a cleaner football player because now we have a more balanced offense with Ashton Genty, right? Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, maybe even Jack Beck or Betch. I don't know how you guys, I hear people pronouncing that name different, even with Tommy Malott in there. We got,
don't forget Michael Mayer.
Yeah, Michael Mayer, which was, we can agree, underutilized.
Yes.
I mean, besides the fact that he went what do I try to look for as to what was the cause of him missing.
The only thing I heard was that he had some personal issues. And that's as extensive as the information, was out there. When they spoke to his family, same thing. It was just, personal family problems. But when it comes to that, just like, the recording of this event, if we didn't do this sooner because family stuff came up. And you know what? That is the most important thing, to focus on. If family has an issue, you handle that first, no matter what. And I think that's what Michael Mayer did. Well, that's what his family did.
Absolutely.
And that's what's important. If you have something to handle, nothing else trumps the family.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. That's priority number one right there, guys. As much as we love to do what we do, you always got to prioritize that because you only get one of those and one shot at your family. But yeah, man, like you said, Michael Mayer is going to be there. So he has a much more balanced. Then we got Deontay Thornton, the receiver. Guy's like 6'4", 200, 210, and that 40 at 4.30. So we're not going to see extravagant numbers, but we're going to see as much cleaner football. And that's what I try to do in the off season, is kind of really understand the impact of the Raiders with the new offensive pieces that we have. You know, but as much as I try to gather and see what we have, as far as Raider news, I mean, there's not really much out there. One thing that I did get mad about, and I posted a video, is how they left our boy Jacoby Myers out of that damn 32 wideouts, PFF, considering that he caught for 1,027 yards, 4 touchdowns, I think it was like 87 receptions, and not a single ball dropped. And that's coming from Desmond Ridder, Aiden O'Connell, and Gardner Minshew. In itself, that's a feat, right?
Oh, yeah, 3 mid quarterbacks.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And that's about it. You know, I was kind of bothered, but I'm gonna let you guys know this right now. Jacoby Myers is gonna have an amazing season, because if he's looking at that, which I'm pretty much, you know, he's not. He's going to come with a chip in his shoulder.
Definitely.
And I want him to ball out to prove the people out there that the Raider Nation is something different now, because we always get counted out.
We do.
We always get counted out like these packaged cigars, right?
Yeah.
Like these cigars, you look at them in a bulk and you're like, oh, that cigar cannot be good. And so far, it has been a great experience, man.
Yeah. You know,
it has been a great. Thank you for introducing this to me.
Of course, brother. Of course. And there's more to come. Like I gave him his starter pack. You know, we got 3 other cigars that we're going to do episodes in the future. Yep. And their variations. One is actually what I'm bringing out, hopefully in the near future. I've been promoting it for a while already. It's a Stogie Nation cigar. It's a limited edition cigar that I want to introduce to the Raider Nation to see if you guys enjoy it. And if so, we could bring it out in larger batches. And then one of my friends went to Bali and brought me, where did I say? Indonesian cigars. Yep. So I have those Indonesian cigars. So we're going to review them. I'm going to do some more research on them. And then I just went this past weekend to Central California, over to the Morro Bay area. And I bought a cigar that, you know, I never seen the brand before, and it just caught my eye. So I bought a pair. So we're going to review those in the near future as well. And, you know, just that's what we're about, you know, just smoking cigars, reviewing, and then we're also going to hit a couple of cigar lounges in the future.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
I already have Taylor's Cigar Lounge in Long Beach. Oh my God. Blue Flame in the city of Torrance. There was another one. There was a couple more. I don't know their names, but I've met and talked to a couple of the owners, right, and they're more than willing to allow us to do an interview and go review their lounge.
Perfect.
So, you know, we're going to be doing a lot of great stuff like that. And obviously also some meet and greets and even some lives. You know, we're going to go live, you know, a night, something, you know, we'll be at home just puffing away and just talking Raider ball, you know. So it should be a lot of fun, man. Yeah. So now, Raider Nation, you guys have probably, you know, seen my other shows, you know, the Weekly Wire with Chris from Protect the Shield, shout out Chris, and then Raider Nation Roll Call, which I do the interviews with booster clubs, super fans, and whatnot. Well, now we have Pedro, part of Stogie Nation.
Yes.
Now let's, you know, because we've seen your videos on TikTok, you know, they're amazing videos.
Thank you, brother.
Very informative, funny. You know, I love that stuff. That's what really got me connected with you. Now, let the Raider Nation know about you. Who is Pedro? Who is Legacy of the Shield? How did Legacy of the Shield come to be?
Wow, man. Raider football has been around many years in my family. Like they say, you're born into this, right? I think that's why our fandom is so ingrained and so in love with the Raider culture because of that. It started with my uncles watching the Raiders in the 80s, right? You know, hearing them. My mom was the oldest, so she would always have the family over at the house, and we were always watching. They were always watching the Raider game. And as a kid, you kind of don't really understand it until you sit there and watch the Raiders play, and you see the uniform, and you see the typography, Raiders, and you see their logo. And you just, from that day on, it's almost like love at first sight. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You go in there, and so I could say I've been a fan since maybe 10 years old, you know, been watching them. And I wasn't really so much heavily into it. It was just kind of watching football. And as you get older with time, you start kind of, you know, looking into player stats and player history. And then with time, I started learning about Aldavis, you know. And
the Maverick.
They always like, the Maverick. Everybody always says the Raider Nation, we're stuck in the past. But it's just, our team has history, a great history. And that is something that I always, that I've always cherished and appreciated, you know. So anyway, not make a long story short, you know, I started watching football when I was maybe about 10 years old, followed them all the way through until now. And, you know, you never really know that there's a whole other world outside of just Raider football on television until you start kind of looking for it. And then you come across the violators of the football. You come across the guerrillas, I'm looking at Walter's door here and I'm seeing all these other individuals that I'm going to start looking at that are part of this culture. So I just started making videos, of what I see, what I think. These are just my opinions as far as football, Raider football, current events. But one thing that I really do like is the history of Raider football. I have a series called Legends of the Autumn Wind, where I talk about obviously the legends of the Autumn Wind, the Tim Browns, the Charles Woodsons, the Lyle Alzados, you know what I mean? And obviously the late great Aldavis. So, and that's how I became Legacy of the Shield, because...
Well, wait a minute. There was a name before that.
There was a name before that, and it was all...
Because that's how we met.
Yeah, it was all in Autumn Wind, and sure enough, there was an all in Autumn Wind. I think Brian?
Shout out Brian.
Yeah, Brian, guy has great, amazing content, and I was just scrolling through TikTok. I started my page back in October. I think it was in October, and I wasn't really so much into... I would just kind of like dabble into it here and there, and then when I started doing my recording, I was like, let me just kind of go through it, and then I see all in Autumn Wind, and it was he was actually doing a plunge with Ranger Ramey, the older gentleman. I think it's called Ranger. Shout out to Ranger Ramey. He does the Raider victory plunge. Yeah,
right.
And I saw that, and I was like, all in Autumn Wind, and I'm like, and then I started going into his page, and I noticed that he is a traveling fan that goes to like all the games.
He's attended every game, home and away. If I'm not mistaken, for the last 3 years. That is a feat all in itself. Because first of all, to be able to travel week to week, and then the money, shout out.
How do you do it, sir? You got to let us know, man, because
hell yeah,
I started seeing that, and I was just like, what, the best thing to do is change the name. And one thing that I about myself is it's not that necessarily that I'm picky, but I overthink stuff, and stuff sits there. And I was like, what would be the name? Shield Bearer. What was the other one? I forgot. And Legacy, I just felt like, the Raider Nation program is a legacy.
That's a great name.
You know what I mean? And
it's a great name.
And it's a legacy that's going to live on for years to come. I am 43, 10 years old. My uncles before me in their 50s. It's a legacy that's going to continue to live on. And I figured, Legacy of the Shield. And that's perfect.
I think just the name encompasses everything that you do, because you don't just talk about the past, but also talk about the present and the future. And that's what a legacy is. It's not just what happened in the past, it's the continuance of that past. It's a legacy.
Yeah.
I think it's great. The only thing that we had talked about is, how was he going to be introduced? Was he going to be introduced as Legacy of the Shield? So whenever somebody runs up to him, they're going to be like, hey, Legacy, what's up? And I was like, is that what you want? Or did you want to have like a little cool nickname? Like,
I don't know. How about we leave it up to them?
Yeah. Hey. If you guys think of a cool nickname, let us know.
Yeah, but for those that do not know, my name is Pedro. Hello, Pedro. But, Legacy of the Shield is just like, hey, what's going on, guys? This is Legacy of the Shield. But it's true, hey, Legacy. This is, it just doesn't, it sounds cool. I like it. I ain't gonna lie. But, obviously, my name is Pedro. And I don't know, man, a cool nickname, if you guys want to give it to me. I'm an open-minded person, and we'll take it from there.
There you
and
go.
then that'll be out from there moving forward.
Yeah, so drop him a message. I'm going to have his contact information down here at the bottom.
Yes.
And let us know. If you guys could think of something cool with Pedro, I threw like Pete Rock or, damn. See, that's what happens when
Raider Pete.
Yeah, there you go.
Raider.
Just different little nicknames. That way there's a nickname attached to it. It's a lot easier than, hey, Pedro, come here. I'm gonna think like, this fool want me to cut his grass or what the hell?
I know, right?
But no, man. But this dude has some great content. He puts out not just, random stuff. He actually does his homework. He actually puts effort into the stuff that he puts out there. And you can learn a lot from it. I don't have that ability to sit there and create something like that. Mine is more off the cuff, little points here and there, and then just let it flow. But with him, it's more meticulous. And I appreciate that as a viewer, as a fan. I definitely appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, man. I try my best. I mean, this is something that I like. You know, I read a lot, and once I get ingrained in something, I kind of want to learn a lot more. Like right now, I'm reading a book called Behind the Shield with Aldavis, and how he was behind the limelight, because we see every person is not perfect, and it's just plain and simple. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the nicest dude in the world, even though, I feel like I am, but everybody has imperfections, and Aldavis obviously had a lot of those, but the good outweighed the bad by a long shot. You know what I mean? And it's a great book, man. I'm reading it, and I have a couple ideas that I want to do. I get messages like, "Why are you always talking about Aldavis?" Because it's good to learn about the person that created the Raider Nation. I'm not saying I'm going to talk about it forever, but it's cool, man, to learn about Aldavis. It's cool to learn about the maverick of football, the most hated man in the NFL. When that dude walked into a room, he commanded respect. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? He walked in there. There's a story about him in a meeting where they're having a meeting with all the NFL owners, and he gets up and he goes, "Gentlemen, let's not forget that we're talking about the greatest sport in America."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's our job to preserve the integrity of this sport. And everybody just kind of sat there like, damn. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's the truth, man.
Yeah, he loved football so damn much that I feel like the NFL is the NFL because of him.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
He was a trailblazer, sometimes not very popular, but he did what he thought was the best for the league, not just for him, not just for his team, and he was a philanthropist.
Yes. Yes.
He was an undercover philanthropist. He never wanted to take the limelight or notoriety for the good things that he did. He did it very quietly. I forgot what player it was. I think it was Willie Brown, or I don't know what Raider alum, but his father was ill and he needed to get some surgery far away from where he lived.
Matt Millen.
Well, Matt Millen, There you go. So Aldavis sent his private jet. He said, "Take your pops, go." And he said, "No, I can't afford it. Go.
Don't worry about it."
And then he would send, I remember the story with Willie Brown, because Willie Brown worked for the organization for decades. He would send Willie Brown to, if a player's family member or a player passed away, he would send Willie Brown with money to give to the family, say, "Here, pay for their services. It's on the Raider organization." And he never looked for notoriety. He never looked for any gratitude. He did it out of the kindness of his heart, but he never showed that.
And it makes sense as to why he would always say, "Nobody's above the shield." Not even himself. And that right there, bro, is something that blows my mind. Not even himself, where he felt like he needed to put it out there and publicize these good deeds that he did with the Raider Nation. Mm-hmm. He didn't feel like he needed to say it because he himself was not above the shield. Right. And man, boy, when I read something, I get the chills. So I'm like, man, this guy is like a leader, a owner. I love my people. I love my team. Even though with age, it kind of started, who doesn't with age start making irrational decisions?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Who doesn't? Even me right now, I'm 43. I start making, I still got a long life to go, but who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So
it definitely happens, and it's part of life, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a sad portion of it, and obviously it happens to everybody, but with him, it was, I guess, more visible because he was visible. He was in the limelight.
Yeah.
He was in the spotlight. Yeah. So we saw his deterioration, and it was sad. Sometimes at the moment, you would think it was a bit embarrassing, but then thinking about it, it was more of like, damn, he's losing it. He's going there, and sadly, it affected the organization. But it happens. I didn't blame him because it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, shout out to Aldavis. Rest in peace, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the legacy that you left us.
Yes, absolutely, man.
That's the reason why we're all here. That's the reason why we're fans, and we do what we do. We want to continue your legacy in our own little way, and maintain the Raider Nation, the Raider fandom as we can.
The goal is to turn the state of Nevada black.
Yes.
It's only a 4-hour drive, guys. From here, from the greater LA. I mean, I know it's a tourist town, a tourist trap, and the tourists, you got to understand, there's people right now saving up to go to Allegiant Stadium. And that's the battle that we're going to have to face. And we got to show face, guys. We got to show force over there and show up and black it out. Like, Oakland and the Coliseum. And real quick, Walter, I have a quick question. Now that we're smoking this, the band, at what point do you remove it? Well, obviously.
Well, you definitely want to remove it before it starts burning.
But is this something that you keep while you smoke it?
No.
That is off, okay?
Yeah, I took mine off. The reason I take mine off is because it becomes bothersome to me.
Right.
You know, and I'm not trying to show, hey, look, I smoke this brand. You know, I really don't care.
That was going to be my question. Do you keep it there to kind of like as a flex to somebody? Like, oh,
Some people do.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you're smoking a high-end cigar, you want to show you got something good. Because if you take the ring off, you know, it's just every cigar technically looks the same. You know, so, but I tend to take it off, you know, dump it. No big deal. You know, but it's personal preference. Just don't smoke the band. You know, you
Whatever you do.
You don't, because it has inks in it, it has chemicals, and you don't want that in your body.
Speaking of chemicals, cigars are 100% natural, right? They're not, are they like...
Well, they have natural chemicals that occur through the drying process, but they don't like incorporate like tar and all this other stuff that cigarettes.
like a cigarette would, right?
Right. You know, this is just tobacco rolled. Some of them, depending on the type of tobacco, release oils.
Okay.
You know, but it's all natural. Now, am I saying that it's healthy? No, I'm not. You know, but there's no added chemicals to it. You know, at least that we know. You know, because
In the age that we live in, what is healthy, right?
Exactly.
You know, everything nowadays is. So then, a cigar is a natural plant grown that is like an aging process behind it. Is there?
Well, tobacco itself, you know, it was introduced by the Native Americans here in the Americas. You know, that was taken by the Europeans when they discovered America.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, and they used to use it for ceremonies and whatnot. Obviously, the cigar aspect of it was created in, what is that called? The Caribbean, the Cubans and stuff like that. You know, they're the ones that started creating the cigars, but it was used in pipes mostly initially. And then obviously the cigarettes and, you know, cigars and whatnot. But, you know, it was always meant to be something, initially a traditional tool for ceremony, but then it became a leisure, I guess, tool or thing to do, you know. So, but for me personally, smoking a cigar, because many years ago, I think like 15 years ago, I used to be a cigarette smoker. Okay. I smoke cigarettes, you know, smoke half a pack a day. Weekends, I probably smoke a whole pack because I'd be drinking and smoking. So, you know, to the point where in my youth, I was a party promoter and they used to call me the Marlboro Man.
Oh, man.
So, you know, I smoked a lot of cigarettes. So, you know, my mom passed about 12, 13 years ago. She died of cancer. You know, I got married and, you know, had a family now. So now I was thinking more of my longevity, you know. So I'm like, okay, I quit smoking. But then I'd go out and I'd have a drink in my hand and my other hand was empty. There's something missing here, right? So I occasionally dabbled with cigars back in the day, but never like I do now. And a friend introduced me to Bo Cigar Lounge in Bellflower. Shout out Bo. And I started really getting into the hobby and, you know, the humidor, the maintenance, the care you have to give cigars. Because you don't just grab a cigar and you smoke it.
Right.
You know, it has to be humidified for a certain amount of time because you don't want it too dry. You don't want it too wet or too moist, you know, because all that affects the flavor, affects the burn, affects everything. So it has to be a good balance.
Right.
Usually it's 70 to 75 degrees of humidity. You know, and that gives it a good consistency. You know, so I started learning more about that. You know, bought my first humidor. You know, I got the liquid, which is basically distilled water. You can't use tap water because tap water contains chemicals that affect the cigars. You know, you have to have them in a clean, dry area because they can grow just like any plant or any food. You can grow mold. Yes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they can become moldy. You know, sometimes at the plant where the tobacco is grown and the cigars are made, there's little bugs and mites and stuff like that stick to the tobacco. So the whole process, when they make the cigars, they try to eradicate as much as possible.
Right.
Those little insects and whatnot. But sometimes they are in there. That's why you have to keep them in certain temperatures because these little insects will die. It
could be possible I puffed one already.
Hey, maybe, man. You got some protein via smoke.
Hey, there it is. Now, my next question real quick. You know, for the people watching out there, do cigars give you a buzz?
Yes.
Definitely do.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually smoked a cigar. I don't remember what brand it was. All I remember, I was at Bo's, hanging out, some gentleman walks in, ecstatic because he had just retired after 35 years of service. I think he was a postman or something like that.
Okay.
So he walked in there to celebrate his retirement, bought a box of cigars, and he started handing them out, right? And I was like, oh, thank you, sir. So, cut it up, start smoking it. 4 puffs into it, I start feeling dizzy. And I'm like, what the hell am I smoking, right? I'm like, I didn't inhale this shit, right? It was a very, very strong cigar. So there are definitely some cigars that are stronger, that are really strong. Those are like the full body cigars, and those you definitely have to be weary of smoking, because if you start off with something like that, you're definitely going to be turned off from cigar smoking. So, you start off light. With me, I'm a Maduro smoker because, again, I come from cigarette smoke. I smoked cigarettes for many, many years. So I need that kick. I need that little feel of, like, I don't know, like a punch, and that's what.
This is a Maduro.
A Maduro, yeah.
So this, it does definitely pack a punch. I mean, I don't know if it's my mind playing tricks on me, right? I was telling you earlier, Walter, that
you start tasting the
taste the espresso in this, right? I definitely, when people say like, I guess to the non-cigar smoker, it smells almost like a cigarette, but it does have a distinct smell, because I remember when I was younger, and I'd be walking at the beach, I could smell somebody smoking a cigar. And it smelled good, kind of, Not like a cigarette has it's a different smell.
It does. Right? It does.
And the cigar definitely has a different taste.
It does.
And the taste is enjoyable. It's almost like a wine, right? And some people don't like it, but some people do enjoy the taste of
They appreciate the different, because, like, the Maduros, and then there's some sweet cigars too. Some people like to have a little sweetness when they smoke a cigar. There's also infused cigars. I don't know if you ever had those. Infused cigars is when they take just regular cigars and they put them in a special humidor or a tube, and then they infuse it with, like, cognac, with whiskey, with tequila, with any type of alcohol, or even coffee or any type of liquid. And they don't dip it. They just infuse it. So they put it in the same container. So when the liquid becomes a gas, it humidifies, and the flavor gets, I guess, incorporated into the tobacco. So when you're puffing on it, you get those flavors. That's pretty cool.
Actually, the first one I tasted that was kind of like a sweet one, was acid. It was like a vanilla one or something like that. It was good, but, and here's a big but, it confused me, because I thought all cigars were gonna taste like that.
Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, it's like, this one tastes kind of good and sweet. Yeah. And then you go into something like this, and you're like, hold up, wait a minute. Yeah. So it's probably a good idea to start off with something that's not flavored, like a flavored infused, like you said. And some pretty, like, straightforward, not a Maduro, but like something lighter, to kind of understand what a cigar is, right? So, yeah, man, so far, I'm liking this. It's a cigar, Factory smokes. Man.
And also, most major companies have these cigar seconds, because they wanna obviously get bang for their buck.
Right.
And when they make the cigars, they cut the leaves to shape, and then they roll it and make the cigar. So there's a lot of little excess that, instead of throwing it away, they create this type of cigar. And they're the economical cigars. So I know, like, I believe Alec Bradley makes them, AJ Fernandez makes them, all the companies have their own, like, seconds. And again, if you're starting, always go with those, because, maybe the ash doesn't stay on as long. It burns a little wonky every so often, but you get to experiment, and you get to practice to when you get to the point where you can go to a cigar lounge and buy a pricey cigar, a $20, $30 cigar. You already know what to do, and you're definitely going to see the difference, when you buy, like, let's say my preferred cigar at the moment is the New World by AJ Fernandez. That's my jam right there. That's when I go to cigar lounge, that's what I look for. That's my number one. My number two is the Punch Signature. That's my number two. My number three is the Flathead. What is it? Is it the 5? It's a 660, because it's a gordo as well. I like those because those burn slower, and they last for I want to say 3 to 4 quarters of a football game. So I like those. But again, I'm not going to buy those to smoke on a daily, because those are $15, $20 cigars. And if you do the math, if you smoke one a day, that's 7 cigars.
Easily.
That's $140 a week. I don't got that kind of money. I am a $2 Chuck. I'm good with that.
No, I think this is the perfect choice, man.
Yeah, man.
You know, not too expensive, a good smoke. You know, the flavor's good, the burn is good. Everything about it so far, man, has been great. I'm not much, you know, I just recently started buying, and the cigar that I smoke a lot is a short story, the Hemingway.
Alec Bradley, right?
No, this is a
Arturo Fuente.
Yeah, small little cigar. I don't even see, but I'm gonna educate myself. But it's a good cigar because it's burns slow, has a good little flavor to it. And when I'm in the backyard, just kind of hanging out, I spark one up. But they are $10 a pop. You know, $10, like you said, once a day. It could put a little damper, but if you want to enjoy some convenient, I think this is a perfect way to go here, man.
Definitely. And then again, if you don't want to smoke a full cigar, not a full toro or full gordo, you could always just smoke half because it's only $2-3.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that expensive. So if you smoke half and you just put it out, you're good to
That's
go.
it.
Oh, and that's another thing. If you're done with the cigar, don't squish it like a cigarette. All you got to do is just put it face down and it'll die out on its own.
It'll die with integrity.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Give it a good death.
Yeah, give it a
You know,
good death, man.
Just put it down and it'll turn off by itself. You don't have to squish it. You don't have to step on it. You know, just put it down and it'll die out on its own.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so far you enjoy it.
Man, I love it. I look forward to getting into more cigars, reviewing more cigars, and kind of really getting to understand the culture. Because I feel like this is a culture in itself.
It is.
You know, and I'm excited, man, to go into it. But yeah, so far so good. Like I said, the taste is good. It has not gotten bitter on me since I sparked it up.
Yeah, it's good.
And I feel like it's been burning at a consistent rate.
Yeah.
And I haven't felt the cigar get hot, you know. And the reason I know this is because the Hemingway sometimes can be a little tight.
Yeah.
And I'm drawing on it, and I kind of bring it back to life. It starts getting hot and soft.
Yep.
And then it starts getting real bitter on me. But so far, this has been a consistent burn, and the taste is not bad.
Nope.
But then again, it could be that I don't really understand it too much. And there could be something else for the same price and better. But that is that's her future.
Yeah. No, and then obviously
good.
everybody's palate is different.
Yeah.
You know, some people like sweet, some people like flavored, some people like strong, some people like light. You know, everything is different to everybody. So don't just go based on what we say. Give it a try. I know you can buy these individually at I think it's Total Wines and More sells them, and you could buy the individual stick. And you could try it out on your own, and they have the different ones. I usually buy mine from cigarpage.com. We're not sponsored by them. I just love them because they get free shipping. Their prices are very reasonable. You know, I buy a brick of 25 cigars, the gordos, the 660s, or under $50. So that's, under $2 and change with tax or whatever, and they come straight to my house. The only thing is, at least here in California, you have to be home to sign for them because, obviously they don't want to sell to kids. Or minors, I should say. But other than that, man, it's great. I have my stash, I have my humidor filled, and obviously I have other cigars in there depending on the moment. If I'm drinking, like let's say if I'm pairing it with some whiskey, I like a Maduro. If I'm drinking some coffee, I like a Connecticut. It just all depends on what I'm feeling. Usually. Right now, I'm boycotting Coke because of all the little political stuff, but we're not going to get into that because we're not political. Usually, when I go to Cigar Lounge, I would have a Coke Zero and a cigar. Or right now, I'll do like a mineral water and a cigar.
That's what we're having right now.
Yeah, we're having a Virgin Michelada.
A Virgin Miche.
Or what I dubbed it a few... I don't want to say episodes, but I think it was an episode of Roll Call or something. MC Raider introduced me to this, and I call it the MC Raider Chelada, because he doesn't drink. He stopped drinking, but he wanted, some flavor, so he mixed it with Topo Chico,
Topo Chico,
and it was good.
Bro. Well, I came across my first, I was speaking so good about it, it went out on me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
All you got to do is relight it.
Towards the end, I think is where it struggles.
Yeah.
It's not finishing strong, guys.
But again, it's an economical cigar.
Absolutely.
Expectations should be curbed. Don't expect, the highest quality. It's good quality. It's a good quality cigar, but it's not great quality. It's not an elite cigar. It's good for the start. It's like a good starter cigar.
Absolutely, and you said it well. It's a good starter cigar. I like it. So I mean, despite whatever, I think I just didn't hit it enough.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. If you let it sit for too long,
Yeah.
it'll turn off on you. It is temperamental. If you don't give it enough attention, it's just gonna turn off on you. And some of us know a little bit more of that than others, but
Right?
but no. So Raider Nation, here in Stogie Nation, we're definitely going to be doing more cigar reviews.
Yes.
We're going to be doing cigar lounge reviews. We also going to be bringing in guests. Right now, not guaranteeing anything, but I am in contact, in communication, and I didn't tell you this earlier, but I'm in communication with Violator.
Jeez.
We're trying to set up so we can meet up and review his cigars. Because Violator, if you guys don't know, he's a super fan. He is in the NFL Fan Hall of Fame. So he is one of the top tier super fans within the Raider Nation. And I've been in
legend,
Yes.
a legend himself within
Yes.
the culture.
And he's also a cigar aficionado. He has his own cigars. So I'm in talks with them so we can meet up with him and review and talk about his cigars, his history within the Raider Nation, his love and passion for the Raiders, and just chop it up and do what we do. Smoke cigars and talk ball.
Absolutely, man.
So Raider Nation, this basically concludes Stogie Nation, our first episode, second season. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to us, to myself or Pedro Legacy of the Shield. He's definitely on Instagram.
Yep, Instagram, YouTube,
TikTok.
And even X.
There you go, X.
Even though well, yeah.
That's another show.
That's a whole different conversation there. But you know what? We need to get ourselves out there. But yeah, man, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate this. This was an amazing experience. And just like fine wine and fine cigars, it's only going to get better, guys.
Yes.
Our first really kind of getting together and, our schedules, he's busy, I'm busy, but we just wanted to sit down and get the feel of it so we're able to deliver more concise and good content for you guys to enjoy for the cigar and football
Yes, sir.
fan alike.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. And we're here not because we want to get famous, not because we want to make money. What we want to do is we want to inform the Raider Nation on obviously the hobby of cigar smoking, talk ball, and just make the Raider Nation bigger and better.
Absolutely.
That's our goal. We want to continue the Raider fandom as long as we can with what we have available and obviously entertain you in some way, shape, or form. So again, Raider Nation, like, subscribe, follow. Let us know if there's any particular brand or any cigar lounge that you would like us to visit. And, we will make it happen.
Absolutely, guys.
Okay. And like I always say, everything we do is for the nation, by the nation.
Run 'em out. We got the Raiders in the building and they about to shut it down. Silver and black up in the crowd. Raider Nation in the building and we getting loud. Ooh, run 'em out. We got the Raiders in the building and they about to shut it down. Silver and black up in the crowd.